We are looking at the economic impact of the Second World War. This was the deadliest. This means more people died, more things were destroyed, more things were affected than any other military conflict in history. So it lasted about 6 years from 1939 to 1945, and this involved 30 countries from every part of the globe. Now, the number of people who died, 70 million, is about 7 crores. At that time, this was about 4% of the world's population. So, when we are studying the economic impact, economists, they always look at the pros and the cons, the balance sheet. Now, it's mostly negative when you look at it. Let's on the left side is the negative consequences, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points, and on the plus side there are just 2. It's very clear that war has a huge economic cost. At the end of war, nobody is really a winner. In war, they are all losers. Let's go through this point one by one. Firstly, the GDP. Everyone's income goes down. Everyone loses. The whole country, the whole nation. It's not just you and me. Buildings are damaged. Infrastructure, the roads, railways, the ships, bridges, these are all destroyed. Now, war is expensive. Nobody likes to lose a war, so they go on putting more money in it. Even they run out of money, they borrow. Normally, they borrow from each other or from other countries who help them out. But a debt or a loan has to be repaid. But it's not all the time that you cannot, your debts get cancelled. And in a country when that happens, taxes always increase. There are always high amount of taxes. Next is inflation, price rises. Things are keep going up all the time. Why I'm telling you this is that one day I hope that after 5-10 years, when you become more mature, and by that time all this corona COVID-19 situation will be over, and then we will study once again how during this pandemic governments actually helped us, and how governments or nations globally worked together or they did not. Every crisis is an opportunity either to shine or to become better or to become worse. All these things are happening right now, except let us say there's not a physical war. Buildings are not destroyed, bridges, roads, railways are not destroyed, but all the other things are happening. GDP is down, the warning signs are there. Inflation is already there. The next thing is there is always pressure. So in this crisis, those of you who are joining online class, now the Navang Pacha, you are joining online class at least. But what about the others? I hope you will take this as an opportunity that you will at least share your notes with them, at least help them out. Okay, the next important thing is the psychological cost. War affects everyone psychologically because people are dying all the time, constantly. It's not natural. Now then corona also, people are getting sick. A huge number. In India right now, it's I think something around 11 lakhs who got sick till now. Yes, a good number have recovered. And so many have died also. Corona is something that has affected everyone very deeply, including children. In many ways, this plays with your mind. It shows us how strong you are. If you are strong in your mind, in your mental setup, or in a spiritual setup rather, it will make you perform better. Now, some will also go down. And naturally, the working population declines. Now, on the positive side, there are just a few positives. In life, you have to look at both things. You cannot look at the negative side all the time. So, there are two positives. One is that people actually get some kind of employment in a war. The defense industry creates employment, the food industry, the transport, everything. There is some kind of employment except the normal employment that we see. And the next thing is an innovation or new technology. So everyone innovates with new technology. You are also doing the same thing, isn't it? Earlier you were studying in the classroom or not, or sleeping. That is entirely up to you. But now you are studying in front of your mobile screen or laptop screen or whatever. So innovations are there. In the past also, new innovations were there. For example, new technology was there. Let's say in communications, the radios, the telegrams, the telegraphs, the radar. When we look at the end of the war ended in 1945, people recovered very fast. And I think in Corona also, it is down right now. But when you're down at the bottom, there's no way to go except up. So I hope most of you don't get too down, don't get too depressed. Yes, we are all in the same position now. We are all down. The only way from down is to go up. History has shown us in the past also, and it will show us in the future also. Let us look at what happened after 1950. Now, after the Second World War, actually there was a huge economic crisis in Europe because most of the European nations were destroyed. Large amount of people died in that war. So they focused on two things. One is to rebuild, and the second is to give employment. So in the Second World War, you see the US not repeating the mistake made in the First World War. If you remember the last lecture, if you don't remember it also, go to YouTube and watch that video again. After the First World War, the US took out the money actually from Europe and put it back in USA to create more employment there within USA, but it had a negative effect on them. Now here the focus was on rebuilding Europe because it is a great big market. Now employment is mainly generated by rebuilding projects. You also have the rise of Asia Pacific, or especially around this area. Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan. They are huge industrial powers now, and their rise started after 1950. So in a crisis, this is an opportunity for you also. For you joining online class, those who are studying on your own seriously, it's a chance because at the end, your performance will either show how you studied or not, or how you were lazy or not during this time. First World War happened, another pandemic also happened in 1918. But after that, economic recovery was not there in the whole world. Economic recovery was there in USA. In USA, they went up for a while, but they all came crashing down with the great economic crisis or the stock market crash of 1929. Everything went down. It could recover a little bit, but not so much. And then the Second World War happened, 1939 up to 1945. But the difference is that after 1945, when the Second World War ended, economy did not go down, it went up. Now let's study the reasons why. These are positive things that we can look at history. Globally, yes, they fought against each other, they killed each other by the millions. And as I told you in the last class, in economics and business, there are actually no enemies. There are only friends, there are partners, and there are common interests. Now let us look at the various plans, starting with the Marshall Plan. A plan or a program of loans and other economic assistance provided by USA between 1947 and 1952. This was given to mainly the Western European nations. This is the Secretary of State, George C. Marshall, to reconstruct the cities, industries, infrastructure heavily damaged during the war, and also it would enable Western European countries to help each other and also to help business between European countries and America. So this helped the Western European nation. Everyone tries to make friends and to build partnerships for the future. Next is what happened in 1948. This is the beginning of the OEEC. This is actually the foundation for the OECD. This will come a little later. But what you need to know now is this was mainly started in 1948 and it was established among 14 countries. Now, out of this list, for exam purpose, remember at least 4 of them. So 1948 to 1963, within 15 years, this rebuilding process, it led to the growth of industry and agricultural production to the pre-war level. Everything that was destroyed in the Second World War, it came back to normal. Now within themselves also, they got into so many small associations. Firstly is the Schumann Plant, named after Robert Schumann, who was the French foreign minister. Now this was to control the production of steel and coal. There were 6 countries involved. The proposal took place in 1951 on 18th April. West Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg. They had a treaty or understanding to set up the European Coal and Steel Community. Remember these abbreviations: WECSC. It was to have a lifespan of 5 decades. Firstly, there is a common market. How do they create a common market? They make things easier for countries to have trade within each other. That means mercantilism or protectionism has to go. We have to allow free trade between each other. Now, this was ratified by the parliaments of the 6 member countries on the 25th of July 1952. The USA, they realized that the Europeans are coming up very fast. So they also wanted to have close relationship with them. Britain also wanted to be in that group. Finally, this was the opening or the beginning of the EU or the Economic Union or the European Union. So everyone needs the EU. Among the top currencies and stable currencies, the stable countries rather, there is always strength in unity, one of the positive example of globalization. Now in the world that we live in globalization, different countries and areas have trade agreements among each other. Let me just give you a rough idea of what the world looks like right now in terms of economic cooperation. The green is the Americans, the brown or the orange is the Africans, the blue is the Europeans, the green is the Asians, the blue are the Pacific Islands, and then you have the Russian nations, which actually they do business with everyone. Now in this world situation that we are in, now these are the projections right now. Nothing to be really worried. This is quite natural. In any global problem or global disaster, as we say, it is natural that everyone will get affected. Now looking at the map, this is quite true. Everyone's business will be down, everyone's economy will be down. But then coming back to the point, this is the group which has kept it together in the past, and in future also this is what it is going to look like. So yes, at the time being it looks red, but red is not going to be forever. At some point red will turn to green. It's like a signal light. You wait and then the light turns green and then you move. So this is what you got to wait for. Let's wait for the green signal.